Start. On this day, Wednesday, March 14th, 2012, at 10:33 a.m., a meeting of the Committee on the Administration of the Chicago Park District is being held in the 8th floor boardroom of the Administration Building located at 541 North Fairbanks. Will the Secretary please call the roll?
Vice Chair Commissioner Lavelle,
Present.
President Trobert,
Here.
Commissioner Hanlon, Commissioner Koldyke.
Here.
Quorum is present. Let the record reflect that Commissioner Salgado, General Superintendent Michael Kelly, and First Deputy General Counsel Timothy King are also in attendance.
The meeting will please come to order. Item number 1, from the Chief Administrative Officer, authorization to enter into a contract for the implementation of enterprise content management. Ms. Anthony.
Good afternoon. My name is Tanya Anthony, Chief Administrative Officer for the Chicago Park District. It is recommended that the General Superintendent and CEO or his designee enter into a contract with Electronic Knowledge Interchange, EKI, for the implementation of an enterprise content management system. The contractor was selected pursuant to a publicly advertised competitive RFP process. So by way of explanation, what I'd like to do is quickly walk you through presentation to explain what ECM is and what it can do for us. So Enterprise Content Management, or ECM, is basically a system to help us to create, import, store content of all types. It'll help us to collaborate on content creation as well as automate our workflows. It'll give us email alerts to let us know where we are in that workflow process. It helps us track and manage document versions, and it provides an opportunity for us to search for content through a web-based interface. It'll give us the opportunity to manage content, storage, retention, and deletion. So why is this important to us? Well, we're in the process of developing our district-wide strategic plan, and there are certain common themes that have come out as we've spoken to the leaders of the Park District. One of those is to eliminate and improve on our processes, eliminate our paper processes, as well as eliminate the use of paper, and then a place where we can share information in a collaborative environment. And that's what our challenges are today. We are overwhelmingly run using paper processes. Our paper-based processes make information access difficult, and it contributes to duplication of data and make process data errors and process slow and inefficient. Heavy reliance on paper limits our ability to serve our patrons efficiently and limits our ability to enable employees self-service opportunities and to assess the status of our business processes. It also limits our ability to address the demand for social media and digital content, for example, videos, pictures, audio. So ECM can address these issues for us by allowing us to capture, manage, store, track, retrieve, archive, and deliver information. It'll help us maintain the security of sensitive information and help us comply with data retention laws and policies. Real high level, it also improves the ease and timeliness of information access, and it helps us promote our green initiatives. So there are various efficiencies that will come out of this project, both direct and indirect. Some of the direct cost savings are mailing cost savings, our off-site storage savings, where we store our documents at the candle factory, printer cost savings. Indirect cost savings include a more flexible deployment of our work staff. We'll gain some productivity opportunities, and then we'll see some cost avoidance issues addressed by avoiding costs associated with increasing volumes of paper. We'll avoid costs with optional use of our storage over at the candle factory. We'll avoid legal damages avoided in discovery and document errors. So at this time, what I'd like to do is introduce Robert Blackwell Jr., who is President and CEO of EKI, so that he can go through a couple of case studies that he's done with the Chicago Park District to help show the benefit and value to us with this product. Robert Blackwell Jr.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Thanks for having us today. We're really happy that we can be a part of this initiative. We think that enterprise content management is one of the areas where you can really get a lot of value, and we think that a lot of, especially public sector institutions, have really underinvested in this. And if you're really going to both modernize the processes and technologies that help you become more efficient, enterprise content management is really one of the key. If you want to eliminate paper, be able to get access to information, be able to manage workflow and approvals better, the investments in enterprise content management have a very high and fast payback. So I wanted to talk about this a little bit today. So the first thing is, and we've started this already, really just do a fact-based analysis to identify and quantify opportunities where you can get savings. And really the key to capture these savings is both process and technology modernization. I'm sure you may have experienced in the past betting big on technology and you didn't realize all the value that you were promised. With ECM, it really allows you to both modernize process and technology, and you really have to make sure that you have up front the right team with the right experience and also the internal buy-in to make sure that you're properly vested in all the things you're going to need to capture this value. And we feel pretty comfortable that your team is gone in the right direction, and we hope to be a partner with you in that. So what I want to cover today is really just two of the examples where we think you can get value. One is getting vendor discounts for accelerated payments and reducing the use of paper. So if we go to the next slide, what we did is to start with really an analysis of payment, both capital payments and expense payments. So I'll start with capital payments. We did an analysis of about $40 million of capital spend. The average invoice value was about $73,000. The average time to pay was 80 days. So we really think is that part of the reason why it takes so long to get through this is because as a public institution you have to do lots of verification, and unfortunately it's very manual today. You have to take paper which is distributed at the different park districts and bring it downtown. This process is very time consuming. And there's been studies, it's referenced at the bottom of this page, it says 85% of vendors would be willing to extend discounts in exchange for early payment. So we believe that 60% of this payment you could capture 2% early pay discounts, which would translate into just under $500,000 of real dollars that you capture every year. And I would say as a vendor to the city and other places, I can tell you from my own experience that I would gladly give 2% a lot of times in order to get paid on time. So I think that's a real opportunity. The second is we looked at the expense payments, and we analyzed about $360 million worth of payments. And these tend to be larger payments. So we figured that if you could go from a net 45 to about net 30, you've got a potential to realize about $4.3 million in vendor savings per year. And really, ECM is a critical part of that, because what you can now do is you can enable self-service with vendors. So you can have vendors electronically submit invoices, and it'll be routed through your system. So everybody who's involved in the approval process can now look at this online, and they can go get paper if they need to, as opposed to having the whole process dependent on paper.
Tanya, are most of our contracts offering 230 or 210 net 30 today?
I'm not sure. Yeah, I'm not sure, but we typically pay our contracts between 60 and 90 days. So what we're going to do is going to reach out to our contractors to ask them if they would allow us to participate in like in a prompt payment initiative where they'll pay us or give us a discount if we use it 30 or if we meet it in 30 days.
In the commercial world, 230 is tough to get. 210 net 30 is usually more standard. So I would challenge whether or not you could actually get 230. But we should look into that.
Well, in the private sector, you typically have more flexibility than you have in the public sector, and people get used to, in the public sector, longer payment cycles, and you typically have less margin. And those companies, a lot of times, that are doing business with the private sector really depend more on that cash flow. So while this is not scientific, we've done a lot of research, and we believe that there's significant opportunities.
Okay. I'm not challenging it. I just want to clarify.
Okay. Great. The next page is really just shows the value of paper elimination. According to findings here, the Park District consumes about 15 million pages annually. It's about 7.5 million pieces of paper that you buy on an annual basis. And we really think at the minimum you can cut this by 20%. There's two big buckets. One bucket is the paper that you use externally, brochures and things like that that you're giving out to the public. And we think 15% of that is addressable. But the internal paper that you use, we think that up to 70% of that is really addressable, which means you can eliminate a significant amount of paper. And there's been some studies that show that every file cabinet that is full of paper costs you $28,000, or about $1. The total cost of ownership in a piece of paper is about $1.40. So it's really significant dollars.
Does this calculation also include internal printing costs, ink, and all of that?
Yes, it does. It's really the total cost of buying, printing, using, circulating, storing, retrieving a piece of paper. And when things are in paper, you also mean the information is not readily accessible. It has a much higher error rate than when things are available online. Processes get stuck because they're on people's desks, and those people may be out of town or on vacation or whatever. So really process modernization, which you really need in order to really transform the way that you do business, really within the constraints that you have as a public sector organization. ECM is one of the best investments that you can make, enterprise content management, is one of the best investments that you can make in both technology and process modernization.
Another question speaks to whether this is some aspect of this will be done in the park branches, or whether this is primarily central office administration.
I can answer that one.
Go ahead.
So we are in the process of rolling out basically connectivity at all of our parks. We're at about 190 right now. Puts us maybe about 3/4 of the way there. We are anticipating that near the end of this year, early next year, all of our parks will have some connectivity so that we will be able to roll this out. Some of the information, some of the things I was saying about being able to access information, that came from the parks. They're asking for the same thing. Can we get an intranet so that we can go to one place and find some information out about things that are going on? And so, yes, they will have access to this as well.
So let me give you an example really quick, Commissioner. So I was at a meeting Friday at a park, and someone walked by, happened to see me, and said, hey, Superintendent, I hate to bother you, but could you save me a trip downtown? I said, sure, what do you have? I have this stack of reports that it's too much to fax, but we would have to drive it down because they didn't have a computer to scan it in. Would you mind just dropping them off? Of course, I said, sure, I'll drop them off on my way in. We're going to eliminate we're attacking this from many different angles. One of them being, how about bringing a computer into the facilities to start skimming back some of this paper out in the field.
Is there a training component that goes along with this?
Absolutely.
And EKI will also implement the training, and it's going to be huge. It's going to be about an 18 to 24-month project just to try to get this rolled out. We're going to roll it out in about 3 phases. Our first phase is going to try to tackle our largest paper-based processes. And, we're going to start this year in anticipation of all the parks being connected by early next year so that they can partake in this process as well. And yes, training will be included.
Is there a public interface to this aspect of it?
Well, I would say
Yes.
I would say that when we get into the design phase, what we're going to do is we're going to lay out all kind of the short-term and long-term requirements, so that we make sure that not only are we doing things that need to be done in the short term, but the architecture is built so that we prepare for, I would say, requirements that you may not be able to implement today because you don't have enough connectivity. We should also think things about like mobility. How can we, because the world is moving to mobile devices, this should also be part of the architecture so that you not only enable self-service with, I would call it the office downtown, but also with the people in the Park District and the constituents that use the Park District service, because eventually you want to extend self-service really to all your stakeholders so that you eliminate paper and people can do their work, and then the other people who need that work, it's just routed to them automatically, as opposed to having, I would call, inefficient relationships and producing a lot of paper. And you can't really today measure the inefficiency in the paper very effectively that's going out into the different park districts.
And lastly, is this web-based?
Yes.
It's a web-based application?
Yes.
How many EKI employees will be on this project?
I can't tell you right now. We'll probably be 6 to 7 to start, and depending on the phase.
And will you be outsourcing some of this to other vendors?
There's different partners. There are different partners in this, but it's
Software.
not outsourcing. There's a company called Knowledge Lake, which has the base software
Yeah, I saw
that we're going to be leveraging. But there's another partner that we have, it's a WBE,
saw
that's going to be a part of the deal. But we're going to be responsible for this work.
Who's going to do the training, EKI? Or is it a partner that's going to do the training?
I have to go back and look at the contract to see whether that was a WE portion or our portion. I don't know. At the end of the day, we're going to be responsible for this. Even though that we have partners, I say you kind of have one throat to choke, and
So we call you.
that's us. Yes, sir.
Got it. Okay.
Thank you.
Tanya, let me just, first of all, I want to thank you for this presentation. You know, I pushed you on presenting these things that you help us understand, not just that you need this, but why you need it and what it will do, and some cost-benefit analysis. And I appreciate the fact that you've done that here today. The concern that we've heard from the other commissioners is that, you know, the worst thing that could happen is we could buy a system like this and not fully utilize it. You know, lack of a better analogy, you know, it's the Ferrari that no one really knows how to drive. So what is that process in terms of the training? Are there milestones? Who's responsible? Who's going to be checking it 3 months, 6 months, 12 months that we're actually utilizing what it is that we're buying?
There's a couple of things that we're doing. First of all, this is going to be our way of business. So once we switch to this, there'll be no more paper processes. This is the way we'll be doing things. As far as training is concerned, we're in the process of getting a training program together so that all of these new systems that are in place, there's some transfer of knowledge as people transition to new positions. As new people come in, there's their transition of knowledge. So there's a couple of things that IT is doing. There's a training package where it's almost a self-training. So we don't necessarily have to call in someone to do a large training exercise, or we don't have to have somebody take some time out. They can actually sit at their desk and go through the training exercise, and it's to learn it, and then it's to do it. So you showed how to do it, and then it walks you through so that you can remember how to do it. And that happens, that's anytime. You can call that up at any particular time. If it's something that I don't do on a regular basis and I forgot how to do it, I can call up that training module and it'll walk me through it. So those are some of the things that we're trying to accomplish between, just the way of our business, a training process, and then a training tool.
But staff accountability that gets done is going to be enforced.
It will be enforced. Actually, Mike Kelly has held me personally responsible for making that happen.
I'm glad you said that, because I
remember.
didn't want to say it. But listen, I've seen a couple of these Ferraris. In my 17 years of government, it will be my throat if we don't utilize this equipment. Because I've seen the Ferraris that nobody used. It's my commitment to upgrading our technology, and I will not let it fail.
Correct me if I'm wrong, did we not make an investment in some project management? So is this going to work? Are those going to sing together, or are those going to be completely separate animals?
I can quickly show you kind of what our baseline looks like. So really quick, high level and totally, non-technical, but we have two bases. Our work order system will speak to Oracle and Microsoft. Microsoft and Oracle are our two base systems. And as you'll see, our project management circles around our Oracle base. Our work order system speaks to those project management, which is our Oracle base, which all speaks to Microsoft in some kind of way. So they all connect in some kind of way.
In some kind of way.
in some kind of way. So, I mean, there's reports that we'll be able to generate electronically, which will be used in SharePoint, which is basically that's it. A lot of our information that's stored in Oracle will be able to be accessed through SharePoint and different type of reports, KPIs, things like that.
Yeah, I just
So
want to
I
add.
think that's a yes.
That's a yes.
I would just add a quick point on this, is that I think when you're rolling out technology, there's really a couple things that are really important. Leadership is the most important thing. The leadership of the organization has to be committed to saying, this is the way that we're going to work. If you don't have that, it's not going to work. The second thing is you have to think about vesting all the people that are going to be using this system in advance, so they know how it's going to affect their job. And there's a little bit of sales process that goes into this and saying, this is how this is going to make your job better. You're going to now have faster access to information that you need to make decisions, to do your job. So leadership and making sure that you're vesting. And the third component of that is to have a real partnership between the implementer and the customer. So where you have a relationship where you can really have direct conversations, everybody in advance knows where you're trying to end up, because everything is not going to go perfectly smooth, and you have to have a relationship where you can go and have a conversation and say, hey, we need to make these adjustments or those adjustments. But at the end of the day, we are absolutely committed to making this work. We do have as a company, we've managed these types of efforts for the city of Chicago. We actually manage almost all the web application development and support for the city of Chicago. We've done that since 2001. So we're here in Chicago, we're committed, and I think we've got a good reputation in delivery, and we're not going to blow it on this.
Will you give us a discount if we can turn around your payments?
Absolutely.
All right, are there any other issues or concerns that the commissioners have?
Move to approve.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Why don't you take a roll call?
we
Why don't
need
we
a
do
roll
this by roll call?
I certainly will. Vice Chair Commissioner Lavelle,
Aye.
President Trubert,
Aye.
Commissioner Koldyke.
Aye.
Motion carried and the matter is adopted.
Good, thank you.
Thank you.
Good luck. Item number 2, also, Ms. Anthony.
This one will be a lot quicker. It is recommended that an order be entered authorizing the general superintendent or his designee to provide the authority to enter into, to use an existing contract to purchase Microsoft licensing software and maintenance services to the Chicago Park District. Basically, this letter is to allow us to purchase Microsoft licensing through our Unisys contract in the amount of $199, I believe.
$199,400.
Yes. And basically what this is doing is allowing us to upgrade from Microsoft 2007 to Microsoft 2010, and in some cases from Windows XP to Windows 7.
So moved.
All right, thank you.
If there is no objection, we will apply the last favorable roll call to this matter. So, Ms. Secretary, the motion should carry.
Motion carried and the matter is adopted.
All right. So item 3 from the Director of Purchasing, Mr. Serafian. Is he ready? All right, we'll go on to item, all right, he's ready. From the Director of Purchasing, authorization to advertise green janitorial supplies as a target market solicitation.
Good morning, Commissioners, President Trubert, General Superintendent, CEO Kelly. My name is Rafi Serafian. I'm the Director of Purchasing. And I'm here this morning to recommend that an order be entered authorizing the General Superintendent or his designee to advertise green janitorial supplies as a target market solicitation. On January 8, 2009, the Board of Commissioners granted authority to amend Section F4 of Chapter 11 of the Code of the Chicago Park District to include contracts awarded pursuant to Sections D1B, D2, and D3 in the Target Market Program. The Department of Purchasing researched the City of Chicago's MPE directory and identified many companies that are certified to provide janitorial products and supplies. Additionally, the Chicago Park District is currently purchasing its janitorial supplies through 4 target market contracts. Accordingly, the Department of Purchasing is of the opinion that a target market solicitation for the purchase of green janitorial supplies will be competitive and is in the best interest of the Park District, and therefore I recommend that the board authorize this target market invitation for bid. Are there any questions?
How large a contract is this? I mean, would you
We're-
anticipate in terms of your needs?
Sure. We're expecting that the value will be under $100,000 annually. So if that does work out and the way the bids come back in, then we will present a letter for the superintendent's signature. We won't present it to the board, and that's pursuant to Chapter 11 of the code. And if the bids come back over $100,000, then we'll be back here for the award.
We do have one speaker who signed up to speak if there are no more comments.
Are there any further questions or concerns from the board? Then
Mr.
let's
George-
hear our speaker, if that's fine.
Mr. George Blakemore?
Mr. Blakemore, good morning.
My name is George Blakemore, and I'm a concerned citizen. And I consider myself, I have defined myself as a public servant. And I attend many, many public meetings, not paid and not being appointed. The green, it says the janitorial supplies supposed to be friendly to the environment and to the users. And I'm wondering, the impact is only $100,000 a year. And I think that this should be in-house. I think that you have staff who's qualified, have the expertise, and such. $100,000 is peanuts today. And so these janitorial products that's needed, you have staff here. They can go directly to these companies and make these purchases, and very minimal transportation probably is needed, and the companies will probably even work with you in delivering these products to the Park District. So,
It's material.
30 seconds remaining.
okay. Well, if it's not, you said the materials, not the liquids.
It's to buy the soap, it's to buy the toilet paper, it's to buy the paper towels, it's to buy the floor scrubbing.
All right. Well then, the toilet paper, the soap, the materials that's needed for the Park District. With this amount, $100,000 over.
You have exceeded your 2 minutes.
Pardon me. Over so many years, that would equal to millions of dollars. I think that this particular janitorial supplies.
Please make your closing remarks. You have exceeded your
This
2 minutes.
particular janitorial supplies can be in-house. You don't need to bid for this. So perhaps I have succeeded my 3 minutes, but I've made myself very clear. And when you came up and told me janitorial supplies and
Thank
equipment,
you, Mr.
I
Blakemore.
understand that Mr. Blakemore is going to be seated, but let's respect Mr. Blakemore, a public citizen who's coming up to speak on this issue. So I will be have a seat. I don't need security to harass me. I understand the process very good. So again, all of you have a peaceful and blessed day. And again, I emphasize that this I have a belief that you all can do a good job here in the Park District without bidding out this particular supplies that's needed. Thank you all, and all of you have a peaceful and blessed day.
So moved.
Second.
If there is no objection, we will apply the last favorable roll call to this matter.
Motion carried and the matter is adopted.
Thank you. Item number 4 from the First Deputy General Counsel, authority to enter into intergovernmental agreements with the City of Chicago to accept the transfer of various funds for parks projects. This will be addressed by Timothy King.
Thank you, Commissioners. President Trauberg, Superintendent Kelly. Commissioners, it is recommended that the Board of Commissioners of the Chicago Park District enter an order authorizing the acceptance of funds from the City of Chicago from various funding sources, including but not limited to TIF funding, open space impact fees, the aldermanic menu, and various other city funds. The impetus behind this is from time to time, as we all know, the city agrees to set aside funds generated or obtained through various city programs, initiatives, or for capital purposes for the use and benefit of Chicago Park District. Oftentimes these funds are derived from the negotiations and hard work from various staff members who have dealings with aldermen and elected officials on day-to-day basis and try to entice them and partner with them so they can champion these TIF funds and aldermanic menu money and bring them forth to make significant contributions to our capital improvement program. This is essentially a housekeeping measure, and it's part of Mayor Manuel and Superintendent Kelly's practical and streamlined approach to government. Now, although there is no legal requirement in either the State Act or the CPD code for the board to accept funds, the board votes when we expend funds and alienate property or accept property into our portfolio. Over the years, past practice has drifted so that each time the CPD accepts TIF, open space impact fees, or other city dollars, the administration has come before the board to ask for the authority to accept the money. The results sometimes can result in a month or two delay on a project. For those of us who have heard the mayor's capital 5-year capital plan, the announcement that he unveiled this week, and for those of us who heard Superintendent Kelly's speech yesterday at the City Club, we know that TIF funds and various city funding and partnership is a significant part of our capital program. In fact, since 2007, the Park District has partnered with the city to the tune of over $80 million. And we also know that a streamlined, efficient legislative process has a tangible, positive effect on the efficiency of these capital projects going to market, which is our parks. Here's what this agreement is not going to do. It's not in any way going to usurp, undermine, or diminish the board authority, because after we take in these funds, before any of these dollars are expended or any contracts are let, we come back before the board to present these projects. In fact, I believe it will clarify our process. A lot of times we hear the same parks coming before us many times, same project, and by the time a project is completed, it's been before the board 4 or 5 different times. And I think that this agreement, this general authority, one time a year, the way it's going to work is annually we come before the board and we ask for your authority to accept all the TIF funds and all the menu money that we can get our hands on, so to speak, for that entire year. And rather than every month come back before the board to accept these funds, we ask for the blanket authority, and then as the contracts are let and we cobble together the funds from other sources, we come back before the board, explain the project fully, and ask for the authority to enter into those contracts. So that's basically what we're asking for today, and this agreement that you're looking at would allow us to collect TIF funds for the remainder of 2012. We'd give a report anytime you would ask for it, but certainly on an annual basis, and you'd also get the report on a per project basis as well.
So this will smooth out the process.
I think so, significantly. I think it could be a real nice, streamlined approach.
Tim, the obvious, you brought it up. We don't want anything that will impair the transparency, the openness, and the authority of these meetings and of these board proceedings. And so could you foresee, it sounds basically, someone wants to give us money, we want to take it, but could you foresee a circumstance where by accepting money, there could be some strings attached, some initiative that we're supposed to pursue, and by accepting that, we've tacitly agreed to that, and then later on you bring it and it's already baked? Do you see my point?
Absolutely, I do, and you raised that question in pre-discussions too, and we thoroughly examined that possibility. We certainly don't think so because there's many safeguards for that. Most notably, our code. Any expenditure over $100,000 must come before the board before we can spend a dime. All expenditures under $100,000 have to go through various department heads and ultimately for the superintendent's signature. So before we can spend a dime, we need to there needs to be significant oversight as to how that money's being spent. Also, as part of this annual blanket authority, there's a provision that anytime any commissioner would ask for an update, we would provide that. Certainly, there would be an annual report provided, kind of like a year-end report, and that would be on file with the board secretary. And then, as mentioned, on a per-project basis, there would also be a discussion of what funding sources are being used for the project.
Are there any other questions or concerns on the part of the committee?
We have two speakers who have signed up. One is, our first speaker is Ms. Irma Tranter. And after Ms. Tranter, we have Mr. George Blakemore.
Good morning.
Good morning, Ms. Tran.
Good morning. Irma Tranter, Friends of the Parks. When to stand and support the simplification of things, the reduction of complexities, the saving of even a month of time or 2 months of time for construction so that you have the money in hand. But a couple things. First of all, I'm glad that you're doing this on a year-by-year basis so that you can, you're not doing this blanket for the next 10 years because you haven't done that, and we don't know all the glitches on this. So for doing it for the calendar year is a good thing, and then reviewing it in 13. The point, though, that the other two other points. The point that you bring up, President Traubert, on is there some scenario where you might accept a grant that'll have some strings attached? The one thing I can foresee is a lot of CMAQ grants or just a lot of federal, state grants that come through the city sometimes have a requirement of a 20% match. There's an 80% grant, 20% match. And, that's relevant to, it's great to get the 80%, but then you have to know whether or not you have that 20% match in hand in order to accept that. So I see that, and I don't know how you go about that. Okay. You want to take that one?
I can give you a quick example. That situation happens all the time when we apply for a grant. So if I was to apply today for a grant with the state, with the federal government, there's always a matching component. We don't ask the board for the authority to fill out the application for the grant. So there is some assumption of risk, I guess, or assumption of responsibility anytime you apply for a grant. To sort of wrap up the answer to the first question, what we're saying is, and this is conservative, the reward greatly outweighs the risk on this board letter.
Can I address that, Superintendent? And also, this agreement just covers city funds as well. So.
Right, and some grants come through the city. So the grants are only those that are coming like TIF, Open Space Impact, Aldermanic Menu. I think the one thing we'd like to see, in addition, an annual report is a long way off, and again, to the transparency issue and to the fact that these are city funds, TIF funds are. They belong to a park district. They belong, citizens need to know that. They need to know when their alderperson is contributing to a playground or not contributing. That information is important. To wait for a year is... you
have exceeded your 2 minutes.
Is, too long off. And I think that with the web page, following up with trying to get more on the web page, that this ought to be put up on a monthly basis on the web page. You have some place... that talks about TIF funds or however you categorize that, and every month that as you're accepting that, I think that's helpful information. And then you have a printed or however you have it, an annual report in addition to that. That's our additional recommendation to ensure that information is transferred as it should be. This is good news, and it should be, put on for communities to read. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Mr. Blakemore.
My name is George Blakemore, and I'm a concerned citizen. When I spoke earlier about that previous
Mr. Blakemore,
item,
you'll have to
I'm
speak up.
speaking on this item right now, but I was, when I spoke earlier, I understand very well the process. This is a daily thing that I do, go to
Mr.
public
Blakemore,
meetings.
please speak
So
to the
the
subject.
item that I'm going to speak about today is the connection between the city of Chicago and Chicago Park District. This, I advocate an independent park district elected by the citizens of Chicago, not connected to the political system
Excuse me, Mr.
of the
Blakemore.
Democratic
You have to
Party.
speak to the
Anyway,
TIF
this
as-
item that I'm going to speak on now, it is a connection with the TIF money, and over the years, and also with this process. So, the state of Illinois, this body can tax. So if you need additional funds, you don't have to go to the city with any type of grants or anything. You can tax the public. The public will understand your needs for to improve this park district. So let us not think that the public is
30 seconds remaining.
let us not think. This clock seemed to tick very fast with me. Let us not think that the citizens of the city of Chicago is not sophisticated enough, not educated enough. They don't have common sense. If you need money, you can, the state statute you can tax. So I'm advocating that instead of taking money from the city of Chicago
You have exceeded
and
your
this
2 minutes.
coziness that you all have with the city, it inherently is not healthy and good for the Chicago Park District. So since I've exceeded my minutes, I hope I've been articulate enough. I hope I've been able to
Blakemore.
communicate enough that the citizens and you out here can understand where I'm coming from. Thank you again, and all of you have a peaceful and blessed day.
Thank you.
So moved.
Second.
Hearing no objection, we will apply the last favorable roll call to this matter.
Motion carried and the matter is adopted.
That concludes the Committee on Administration. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Is there a second?
May I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Aye. Hearing none against, the motion carries. The Committee on Administration is now adjourned.
On this day, Wednesday, March 14th, 2012, at 11:15, a meeting of the Committee of Capital Improvements Chicago Park District is being held in the 8th floor boardroom in the Administration Building located at 541 North Fairbanks. Will the Secretary please take a roll call?
Chair Commissioner Koldyke.
Here.
Vice Chair Commissioner Salgado.
Here.
Commissioner Shalaby. Commissioner Lavelle.
Here.
President Trobert.
Here.
Quorum is present. Let the record reflect that General Superintendent Michael Kelly and First Deputy General Counsel Timothy King is also in attendance.
Meeting will please come to order. Item number 1 from the Director of Planning and Construction Facilities, authorization to enter into a contract for Stanton Park Field House exterior renovations. Rob?
Good morning, thank you. It is recommended that an order be entered authorizing the General Superintendent or his designee to enter into contract with F.H. Passion, S.N. Nielsen and Associates, LLC for the renovations to Stanton Park Fieldhouse. Construction to be substantially completed by July 9th, 2012, with a contract amount not to exceed $1,198,000. This relates somewhat to the last item, and this is a fully TIF-funded project. The minority and women-owned participation for the contract include 25% minority-owned, 5% women-owned.
Where is this park located?
On Division and
Scott.
Larrabee,
27th Ward.
27th Ward. This is a shot of the existing roof. The building is aging. It needs significant work. The work includes replacement of roofs, repair and replacement of portions of the exterior masonry and concrete, the deteriorated steel lintels and shelf angles, repairs to the interior masonry at the swimming pool and the gym, repair and repainting of exterior metal elements, swimming pool room windows, and interior plaster repairs needed for water leaks. You can see in this area, the shelf angles are rusting, forcing brick off the building, splitting some of the facing material. The rust's going through the angles into the interior of the building. All of this stuff needs work. Done damage to the interior through leaks through the roof. And so we'd like to take care of this with, again, fully funded by TIF dollars to bring this field house up to.
How long since anything has been done to this building?
We are doing some interior rehab right now related to locker rooms and work inside. But the overall building shell hasn't had work done in a very long time. Is evidence.
How long have you been putting this project together?
In terms of coming.
Right.
Yeah.
2 years.
2 years.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of it was
pulling together the money.
Putting the money.
Mm-hmm.
Congratulations.
Yeah, Rob, I just have two quick comments. One is you guys have been in the habit whenever you present a park is to show us the city of the map, show us the location. If you guys could just keep doing that, that's okay. The other comment I have is this is a project where there was a concerned citizen who was showing up at our meetings month after month after month, presenting pictures that he had taken and wanting to have this done. Someone we haven't seen here for a while, but I'm wondering if you can check the records and find out who that was, and at least communicate with them because he worked very hard trying to get this done and brought it. It was already our attention, but I think he did bring light to that, and it'd be good if you could communicate with him.
Absolutely will do. Thank you.
Can I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Second.
The Secretary take a roll call for the adoption of the matter.
Yes, sir. Chair Commissioner Koldyke?
Aye.
Vice Chair Commissioner Salgado? Commissioner Lavelle?
Aye.
President Trobert?
Aye.
Motion carried and the matter is adopted.
Item number 2 for the Director of Planning, Construction, Facilities, project approval under the Energy Savings Contracting Services Program for California Park McFetridge Sports Center, Task Order 3. Rob?
Yes. On March 10th, 2010, the Board of Commissioners awarded 3 contracts to provide energy savings performance contracting services under the Local Government Energy Conservation Act. Under this act, the Park District may undertake energy savings measures if such improvements generate sufficient savings over 10 years to pay for the full cost of the proposed project. Competitive proposals were received from the 3 ESCOs from the McFetridge Sports Center. Those ESCOs are, and that's energy savings contractors, Ameresco, Johnson Control, and Siemens. The proposed design solutions, anticipated energy savings, and prices were carefully reviewed by Park District technical staff and chief engineers. Siemens' proposal was found to be the most advantageous to the Park District. It is therefore recommended that the Board of Commissioners adopt the enclosed ordinance to authorize Task Order 3 in an amount not to exceed $5,350,000. The minority and women-owned participation for the contract include 29.4% minority and 5.4% women-owned. The McFetridge Sports Center is located within the California Park and houses the only indoor ice skating rink and indoor tennis courts. The recreational opportunities offered at this facility are in such high demand that the Park District operates the center 18 hours a day for 7 days a week. The building was built in 1971, and many of the base building systems have surpassed their life cycle, and have been requiring substantial work and annual repairs. In addition, the reheat coil on the slab under the ice has not worked in over 10 years, resulting in a permafrost in the soil under the concrete. This condition has caused this rink surface to heave and has produced a noticeable bump, you can see it in these photos, in the skating rink, making it very difficult to maintain. The scope of this project focuses on the total replacement of the ice rink, including excavation and replacement of subsoil and the heating system, new concrete flooring system, as well as the above-ground skate rink components. This is a list of the scope items in this particular task order. So again, the ice rink replacement, HVAC, tennis court lighting, lobby HVAC, heating systems, new BAS control systems, electrical service, attic installation, fire alarm, conduit commissioning. These things result in an annual energy savings of over $140,000 that's a pretty hefty annual energy savings. So it's a great site for that. We also are realizing over 18,000 in water savings per year. And then coupled with other operational and capital avoidance costs, it's got a less than a 10-year payback. This is a picture of the existing lighting. Again, these fixtures run very hot. There's a large number of them. We're proposing to put in an even distribution of a much cooler, lower energy use fixture. And, you know, we shouldn't also ignore the environmental benefits. I've been focusing on financial benefits, but the equivalencies calculate to 86.2 acres of preserved forest, or 47.4 rail cars of road or coal not consumed, or 1,770 cars off the road per year.
Okay.
Any questions?
It'll be very welcomed.
Yeah.
Have a motion, please.
So moved.
Second.
No objection will apply to the last favorable roll call vote from the prior matter to this matter.
Motion carried and the matter is adopted.
Item number 3 from the Director of Planning, Construction, Facilities, authorization to issue final payment for work completed in connection with Palmer Park. Rob, please.
Thank you. This is to certify that Albright Construction Company on December 15th, 2011 completed in a satisfactory manner and in full compliance with the terms and conditions of the contract all work in connection with Palmer Park improvements at the water slide. It's therefore recommended that an order be approved for final payment in favor of Albright Construction Company in an amount of $98,839.55. The total contract amount was $1,504,554.92. The minority and women-owned participation are 27% minority-owned and 6% women-owned. The work included construction of 3 water slides and associated mechanical, electrical, and plumbing equipment. Take questions.
Any questions?
So moved.
Second.
If no objection will apply to the last favorable roll call vote from the prior matter to this matter.
Motion carried and the matter is adopted.
Item number 4 from the Rob, you're on a roll. From the Director of Planning, Construction, Facilities, authorization to issue final payment for work completed in connection with Nash Community Center.
Thank you. And again, I'm sorry, I will include maps for each item on the next board meeting. I don't know why I have to my slides. Okay, this is to certify that Tyler Lane Construction on February 10th, 2012 completed in a satisfactory manner and in full compliance with the terms and conditions of their contract all work in connection with Don Nash Community Center. It's therefore recommended that an order be approved for final payment in favor of Tyler Lane in the amount of $58,051.77. The total contract amount is $873,503.41. The minority and women-owned participation for the contract include 25% minority-owned and 5% women-owned. The work included extensive masonry repairs to the exterior of the building, including rebuilding of the severely shifted parapet walls above the gymnasium. This shows a picture of about 4 to 6 inches of the wall actually being pushed away, the facebrick being pushed away from the building. And again, this is a common condition on some of our old buildings, very similar to what you saw at Stanton, where these lintels, shelf angles, they rust, they swell, and the brick's in danger of falling off the building.
This is on East 71st Street.
Yes. Again, this is a picture of that improved condition. The wall is pulled back in. The bricks are actually pulled off, lintels replaced or repaired, reinstalled, and you see the new roofing in this photo. Again, more pictures of the new roofing, repaired lintels around windows, spot tuck pointing in the exterior of the building. Interior was seeing a lot of damage on the upper floors. You can see the staining of the suspended ceiling and the new condition. So that's the general scope of work. Yeah.
Any questions?
So moved.
Again.
If there's no objection, we'll apply the last favorable roll call vote from the prior matter to this matter.
Motion carried and the matter is adopted.
Item number 5 from the Director of Planning, Construction, and Facilities, authorization to enter into authority to enter into contracts for pre-qualified boathouse construction for the pre-qualified boathouse construction pool. Rob.
Thank you. It is recommended that an order be entered authorizing the General Superintendent or his designee to enter into individual contracts with 7 pre-qualified companies listed on the attached exhibit in your board letters. This pool was selected pursuant to publicly advertised request for qualifications. No minimum amount of work is required or guaranteed to the contractors listed in the pre-qualified pool. The contract period is 1 year from the date of contract execution with 2 additional 1-year extension options, and funding shall be based upon annual appropriations. The boathouse construction services, actually have a map this time. Boathouse construction services to include all requirements for developing the various boathouse projects. Work may include, but is not limited to, development of the new boathouses and renovation of existing facilities, construction of floating docks, fitness rooms, lockers, washrooms, offices, utility rooms, kayak and canoe storage, rowing shell storage, rowing tank, and site and landscape improvements. Minority and women-owned participation are minimum of 25% minority-owned and 5% women-owned.
Okay, perfect.
And just a note on process, the evaluation committee evaluated 13 firms. A total of 7 firms were found by the committee to be part of the general contractor pre-qualified pool. 5 of the 7 firms were deemed qualified to develop all 4 of the planned boathouse projects, including Ping Tom, River Park, 28th and Eleanor, and Clark Park. 2 of the firms were deemed qualified to, all 7 were deemed qualified to bid on the smaller projects at Ping Tom and River Park. And the firms include F.H. Passion, S.N. Nielsen, James McHugh Construction, Shafkus, Lombard Construction Company, Walsh Construction, and then the 2 that are also allowed to bid on the smaller projects would be Blinderman Construction Company and Mecor Industries. This is a rendering of one of the larger projects that you would see at either Clark or 20th and Eleanor. These are full-scale rowing facilities with a cost that could come in between $6 to $9 million. Again, we need to go through the full process of finalizing design to come closer to a dollar amount. And this would be an example of what a smaller facility would be that focuses on canoe kayak rentals and smaller community sort of vending area and washrooms, etc., and then a way down to the river for launching. These boathouses are specialized projects that involve unique materials and construction systems, aquatic facilities with pumps and moving water, unique site conditions adjacent to the Chicago River. Construction will require coordination of all building trades, including specialty equipment suppliers and installers, on a very aggressive schedule. The contractors selected for this pre-qualified pool were evaluated based on their experience with similar size and type of construction, past performance, and capacity to work within the required time frames. You can take any questions.
Any questions?
We have one speaker that has signed up, Mr. William Donahue. Mr. Donahue still here? Okay.
So moved.
Second.
If no objection, we'll apply the last favorable roll call vote from the prior matter to this matter.
Motion carried and the matter is adopted.
Final item 6, from the Director of Planning, Construction, and Facilities, authorization to enter into a professional services agreement for design and engineering services for the Bloomingdale Park and Trail.
Again, thank you. It's recommended that an order be entered authorizing the General Superintendent or designee to enter into professional services agreement with a civil engineering firm of Collins Engineers for design and engineering services for the Bloomingdale Park and Trail. A not to exceed services fee of $3,087,908.89 plus a reimbursable expense allowance of $844,954 comprise a total contract award not to exceed $3,932,863.14. The contract period is 1 year, initial term with 2 additional 1-year extension options. This covers our initial design and then gets us through the construction observation phases as well. There's a 29.4% minority-owned participation and a 12.9% women-owned participation for the contract. The project at Bloomingdale Trail and Park will be an integrated component within the conservation of the Bloomingdale Rail and Embankment to an elevated multi-use linear park and trail connecting to new and existing parks to serve the greater Humboldt, Logan, and Westtown community areas. In partnership with the Trust for Public Land, the Chicago Department of Transportation, and the Chicago Department of Housing and Urban Development, the Park District will convert a 2.67-mile underutilized freight railroad embankment along Bloomingdale Avenue from Ridgeway Avenue to Ashland Avenue to a grade-separated park with multi-use trail. In addition to the park and multi-use trail, the project includes rehab of 38 viaduct structures, replacement of 2 viaduct structures, repairs to 37 embankment segments, construction of up to 13 ADA accessible access points, and design of 2 new parks, Park 512 and Kimball Avenue Park. 5 of the 13 access points will be built on graded embankments located in existing or new parks adjacent to the railroad embankment, and the remainder will be ramps located within the public right-of-way adjacent to the embankment. Site improvements will include fencing, paving, lighting, benches, and drinking fountains. The project will require full design and engineering services that include schematic design, design development, construction documents, permit documents, bidding, and construction observation services. And just as a little background, in 2004, the City of Chicago, in collaboration with the Park District, completed the Logan Square Open Space Plan, which identified strategic opportunities to develop open space in a community area that was recognized as the most underserved park community in the city. The design of the Bloomingdale Trail will add 13 acres of open space to the greater Logan Square, Humboldt Park, and Westtown community areas. On June 10, 2010, the Chicago Park District's Board of Commissioners approved a challenge grant of up to $450,000 to the Trust for Public Land, a national land conservation organization, to coordinate the Bloomingdale civic engagement, stewardship, and build private philanthropy and community participation. Up to $2 million of the design fee will be paid for by the Park District, and the remainder of the contract will be paid for by the Trust for Public Land. This is the last shot of one of the graded parks leading up to the Bloomingdale Trail. I'm very excited about this project.
It should be wonderful.
Mm-hmm.
Where do these come from, these pictures that we're looking at?
These come from Phase 1. It was a phase of, they call it a framework plan that was developed through CDOT and then handed off to us to complete Phase 2 design on an expedited schedule.
We have 2 speakers.
I just have one question. Who else bid on this project?
This was part of our pre-qualified design
part
pool.
of the pre-qualified bill.
So what we did is we had 5 companies that were pulled from the pre-qualified contractor pool we have for this kind of design, and those firms were selected collectively by the Park District, CDOT, and Trust for Public Land. So they were ranked. We solicited proposals from the top-ranked company, Collins, and what we were looking for, I should explain, what we're looking for is a civil engineering lead with experience with bridges and parks, a very strong landscape architectural component, and a lot of IDOT experience for this project specifically. The Collins proposal was reviewed by key staff from all departments, including the chief bridges engineer from CDOT, technical staff from Trust for Public Land, as well as the Park District. It was found to be complete, also aggressive in time frame and an approach, and very competitive in terms of price. It was a unanimous decision by the committee to select the firm.
Thank you.
And the scope of what they'll do is engineering, but then the ultimate design of the trail itself?
Yeah, and they're also their lead landscape architect on the job is MVVA, or Michael Van Valkenburg, that's actually working with us on Grant Park, really well-respected firm from New York who had worked also with the previous team on Phase 1.
So Van Valkenburg will be responsible for the stuff that we will see and experience on top of this?
Exactly.
Okay.
And Collins will be responsible for moving this quickly through a very complicated federal process and taking care of also all of the civil engineering structural needs.
We have speakers?
Yes, sir. Ms. Carol Ross Varney and Mr. George Blakemore.
Good morning. Thank you for the opportunity to talk to you about this. I'm here to speak in favor of retaining the Bloomingdale Phase 1 engineering and design team for the completion of this project. The team includes Arup, Burns and McDonald, the Chicago Public Art Group, OH Community Partners, Michael Van Valkenburg Associates, and my own company, Ross Barney Architects. It would be in the public interest for us to continue. I mention public interest because this may be the justification for bypassing the usual bidding requirements, but we understand the short schedule for the Bloomingdale project better than anyone else. Construction will start this year and be completed in 2014. And that may have resulted in a decision to make a quick consultant selection. However, a decision to hire a new consultant team will result in jettisoning the hard-earned intellectual capital and ultimately degrading the project's quality while delaying its completion. By all accounts, our work has been well received. Those, by the way, are from my office, all the drawings that you see today. It has been included, the drawings that you see have been included in fundraising solicitations for the Trust for Public Lands. Indeed, our renderings, which were actually made over the weekend at special request, accompanied the mayor at his press conference on Monday. All the images you see in your package were produced by my firm. You may have heard that you can only get 2 of 3 things in engineering services, good, cheap, or you can only get 2, good, cheap, or quick. Our team can provide all 3 because we've already spent the better part of almost 2 years learning about and envisioning the Bloomingdale Park and Trail.
30 seconds remaining.
With the new team, you will have to sacrifice at least one of these qualities. We've developed a deep understanding of the Bloomingdale Trail. We have all the skills and requirements that are necessary for this job, and we think that it's in the best interest of transparency and good value to let us continue.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'd appreciate it.
Gia Biaggi, Director of Strategy and Policy, and I've been on this project a long time. And I think what we would like to say is thank you to the firms that participated on the first part of the contract. They really created a great framework, and that was the work that was to be done. What are the kinds of guidelines that we want to have for design? The design will live up to those guidelines. It's been a great process, and we're very appreciative of the work. It was a $2.6 million contract held by CDOT. I think Carol's firm got $550,000 of that. So they've been a great partner along the way. We will also have Michael Van Valkenburg Associates, as Rob suggested, and that will provide continuity. We've also made available the entire framework plan documents. And for those who would like to continue on, in fact, we've even suggested to Carol that we'd love to have you kind of participate in our process in terms of the way we've had architectural firms pro bono come in and take a look at our projects to make sure that we're involving the design community along the way. We've done that with IIT and some lead professors there. We've done that with other projects. So again, we're very appreciative, but we are under a tight schedule, and we feel that with Collins and Engineers, we have what we need, which is an engineer at the forefront that really understands the aggressive timing of this, understands the federal process, and can carry the water, along with a really robust team of landscape architects and other consultants.
So Gia, could you, before the board, can I ask you a question? So could you briefly describe to the board, you've talked about the framework plan, what we're doing here today, I'm sorry, I just walked in, and then what phase 3 of this project is?
Yeah, so phase 3 is construction, and so we are on a tight time frame. So with this award today, a notice, excuse me, a notice to proceed will go out immediately, and then by August we will be done with design. It's a very aggressive schedule, and then in August we are handing the project to CDOT to bid for construction. So there'll be multiple bid packages, but the goal is to get people up and riding on this park by August of 2014.
Yeah, you're emphasizing this schedule and the aggressive nature of the schedule. Sure. You're not going to sacrifice getting the aesthetic right for the nature of time. I know that's a rhetorical question, but I think we need to emphasize that as well. And if in fact you're pursuing an aggressive schedule that's going to keep, the design being anything from excellent, then I'm sure you'd agree that's not the way we want to go.
I agree. And in fact, the hard work that was done in the framework plan process, which has taken a couple of years, the robust community process, we had a lot of help from Trust for Public Land on that. All of that work, all of that time spent is going to ensure that the design process that we go forward with now lives up to that level of quality.
Great.
Thanks.
Mr. Blakemore?
As I stated earlier, my name is George Blakemore, and I'm a concerned citizen. I'm not a vendor. So, reading this, it says minority contracts. I have to. Minority is insignificant to me. I'm black. And affirmative action, I'm wanting to be everything to be transparent, where I would know how many blacks participated in this process. And this whole process, I'm ignorant about this process. When it comes to propose for bid, you select a group, and from that group, some of the Park District staff select the person. The next thing that I would like to say is that the Park District in the future should estimate the cost of each project before vendors even come in and so-called bid for these projects. I am not anti this project. I'm just wanting to be transparent, and I'm wanting to know how so many minorities, they constantly come in and so-called bid. I'm wanting to know what is the race of the minorities, and I'm wanting to know what type of work that each minority participate, that they perform. The young lady did say that she's into design her company. And in the future, when a public servant come up to speak, please be courteous and be respectful. I have every right to attend this meeting and speak out. And you are blessed to have George Blakemore speak at your meetings. Some people say a gag blind. That's a person who constantly come up and criticize the government process. I think that it should be defined as a watchdog, defined as a watchdog over various government agencies. Again, thank you and have a peaceful and blessed day, and I will be here at 4 o'clock. All of you, God bless.
Any other? Rafi, just with what Mr. Blakemore said, are we going to hear from you this afternoon with a review of MBEWB,
Yes, you
a
will.
broad review of,
Yes, you will.
how we're doing on that?
Absolutely.
Thanks.
Thank you. Any other discussion? This is by far, one of the most visible, exciting civic projects in the city today. As I've disclosed to the committee and to the commission in the past, my wife is the director of TPL, and she is on the Bloomingdale Steering Committee. And I'm just reiterating that for the purposes of the commission.
Thank you.
Could I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
If there's no objection, we'll apply last favorable roll call vote from the prior matter to this matter.
Motion carried and the matter is adopted.
That concludes the Committee on Capital Improvements. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 All those against? Motion carried. The meeting is adjourned.